And now to talk more about the ongoing power restoration efforts of Meralco following days of heavy rains and flooding caused by the habagat, we have Joe Zaldarriaga, Meralco Vice President and Head of Corporate Communications. Hi, Joe. Good morning, and thanks for joining us.
Hi, Pauline, good morning to all your viewers.
All right, Joe, well, give us the latest numbers. How many households are affected, and what is your estimated timeline for the full power restoration across your franchise area?
Well, unfortunately, the volume of customers affected by the enhanced southwest monsoon increased to 160,000 customers affected as of 7 this morning, and these are mostly in Metro Manila, Bulacan, Cavite, and Rizal. Primarily, the continuous rainfall brought by the habagat resulted to areas that are now heavily flooded, and thus we had to temporarily shut down electric service in these flooded areas. Here in Metro Manila, mostly are in Valenzuela, and we continue to monitor the situation on the ground. For those who would like to call our attention on areas that are still flooded, they may do so by calling us at our hotline at 16211. They can also send their messages to our social media pages on Facebook and on X, or formerly Twitter, at Meralco.
Well, Joe, just taking a look at Twitter or X, there are customers of Meralco who reported having no power for almost 10 hours already in areas like San Juan, Manila, Barangay Tatalon, and Barangay Del Monte, Quezon City. So what is your timeline in terms of restoring full power in those areas?
Well, we will wait for floodwaters to subside, and we really cannot restore electricity, as this may pose grave danger to those living in the areas, especially in communities that are currently experiencing high floodwaters.
So was there any major damage recorded as well in power lines?
There were a few damaged facilities, but most of this really, Pauline, are areas that are affected by floodwaters.
Okay, but Joe, aside from receding floodwaters, what would you say is the biggest challenge or obstacles that your linemen are currently facing in Meralco in terms of restoring ground power? And are there any areas that would be difficult for you to access?
Well, the primary challenge really is the floodwaters affecting many of these areas that currently don't have power. As long as the floodwater recedes or goes down to the level that we can already work, then that will necessitate us from proceeding with the restoration efforts. But as of now, if the waters in these areas are still high, then unfortunately we'll need it to recede first before we are able to fully operationalize our restoration efforts.
And how will you prioritize, Joe, these areas that need restoration? Are critical facilities such as hospitals, water pumping stations, will they be prioritized?
Definitely. We have a protocol in terms of the restoration efforts that we undertake, and every year, every time we experience this kind of a situation, primary consideration as far as Meralco is concerned are the critical areas such as hospitals and the like.
Well, Joe, given that severe weather is a recurrent phenomenon in the Philippines, I mean, it's only July and this is just the third weather disturbance or seeing, and habagat continues to persist. What investments has Meralco made in terms of strengthening your power lines and maybe some of the technologies that you have tapped in order to make the grid more resilient to storms and floods?
continuously invest in storm hardening initiatives as far as our facilities are concerned. We are closely, and we've said this publicly, looking into automation or advanced metering infrastructure as part of our initiative to ensure that we will be able to continuously operate under this new normal situation. As far as the storm hardening is concerned, this has been an ongoing investment over the past few years, and we will continuously do so. This is primarily done in order to face the challenges of the future, particularly the new normal we are experiencing right now, as far as the weather conditions have changed over the years as well.
Well, Joe, for this month of July, electricity rates have gone up. Is there a way to keep charges more stable in the coming months, especially since a lot of households will be recovering from the habagat?
Well, we are primarily dependent on the generation cost, and it's very hard to say what the rates will be moving forward. And the primary driver of the generation costs are the fuel costs that the generating plants consume, plus the other factors in place such as dispatch of the plants and many other factors, and one of which as well is the foreign exchange or the peso vis-a-vis the US dollar. As we have explained in the past, the power plants are very dependent on dollar-denominated operational cost. That's why this also impacts. And at the same time, we also have to look into what the prices will be in the wholesale electricity spot market or WESM. This, on the other hand, depends on the demand and supply play. So there are just too many factors to look into.
Of course.
And it's so hard to determine yet, Pauline, based on your question, if we can put it down. It will really depend on several factors.
All right. Well, I'm sure, though, that those who experienced several power outages or interruptions will want more clarity when it comes to their bill, and I'm sure that Meralco will be providing that. But finally, Joe, what specific precautions or advice would you give some residents and the customers of Meralco in areas where power hasn't been restored yet?
Well, we just want to continuously provide them with safety and precautionary messages and tips. Make sure that once floodwaters are already rising in your own home, please make sure that the main circuit breaker is on off. Make sure that you are your hands and even your feet are dry. You need to use probably gloves if you need to go around. And please don't wade with floodwaters without using rubber boots. Make sure that all the appliances are safely, if you have a second floor, brought up in the second floor. If you don't have a second floor, at least they're elevated away from the floodwaters. Because at this point, Pauline, we have to assess what the situation is in our own homes, especially for those in the flooded areas. I have seen on TV most of these houses, I think, their first-level floors are already inundated in floodwaters. And so I am assuming most of those who are affected have already put their appliances in safety.
Well, we appreciate those reminders, and thank you for your time and for joining us this morning. That was Meralco Vice President and Head of Corporate Communications, Joe Zaldarriaga. Thanks, Joe.